Breaking tonight, Canada just walked through a door that could reshape its entire defense strategy for the next half-century. And the country holding that door open? Not the United States, not a traditional NATO ally in Western Europe, Japan. Here's what almost nobody is talking about. While the world obsesses over tariff wars and trade deficits, Ottawa has been quietly maneuvering into one of the most ambitious military aviation projects on the planet, the Global Combat Air Program, a sixth-generation fighter jet, a three-nation alliance between Tokyo, London, and Rome. And now, Canada is on the inside. But here's the question that should keep every defense analyst awake tonight. Why now? Why Canada? And why is Japan, a country famous for its caution, suddenly so eager to let Ottawa peek behind the curtain? The answers reveal something far bigger than a fighter jet. Dear viewers, let's rewind to March 6th of this year. Prime Minister Mark Carney touched down in Tokyo with Defense Minister David McGuinty. The visit looked diplomatic, handshakes, photo ops, the usual choreography. But behind closed doors, a conversation unfolded that Canadian media barely covered. Koizumi Shinjiro, Japan's defense minister, sat across from McGuinty and put GCAP on the table. Not as a distant possibility, not as a maybe someday arrangement, as a formal invitation. Observer status. Translation: come inside, see what we're building, and decide if you want a piece of the future. Now, observer status might sound passive. It isn't. Under GCAP's framework, observer nations gain access to confidential project information. They get a window into the engineering, the capabilities, the timeline. And critically, they get a pathway, a structured, deliberate pathway toward full partnership. That means potential manufacturing, procurement contracts, even joining the development phase itself. Canada didn't stumble into this. Ottawa positioned itself here. Think about the groundwork. In January, Tokyo and Ottawa signed a defense equipment and technology transfer agreement. That wasn't a feel-good memorandum. That was infrastructure, legal scaffolding, the kind of agreement two nations sign when they intend to do serious business together. And weeks later, Carney flew to Japan personally. This is chess, not checkers. So what exactly is GCAP? And why are countries scrambling to get close to it? Picture a fighter jet designed from scratch for the 2030s and beyond. Not an upgrade, not a retrofit, a clean sheet, sixth-generation platform integrating artificial intelligence, advanced sensors, autonomous drone coordination, and stealth architecture that makes current fifth-generation fighters look like relics. Japan, Britain, and Italy launched this program with a target date of 2035 deployment. The price tag runs into tens of billions. The strategic implications run even higher. And here's what makes this moment electric. Interest in GCAP is exploding. A Japanese Defense Ministry official confirmed that Singapore, Australia, India, and Saudi Arabia have all been in contact with the founding trio. Germany, Sweden, and Poland are circling. One Defense Ministry source in Tokyo put it bluntly: countries are lining up for this. Countries are lining up. And Canada secured its spot before any of them. Now let's talk about the elephant stomping through every hallway in global defense procurement: the United States. Washington announced its own next-generation fighter, the F-47, under the Trump administration. On paper, it sounds impressive. In practice, no formal allied procurement framework exists. Trump floated toned-down versions for allies, but no structured participation model has materialized. No work-share agreements, no joint development pathway, just a sales pitch and vague promises. Meanwhile, the European alternative, the Future Combat Air System, a joint French, German, Spanish venture, is mired in disagreements between Paris and Berlin. Two of the continent's most powerful capitals can't agree on work-share, intellectual property, or leadership. That project isn't dead, but it's bleeding momentum. GCAP, by contrast, has structure. It has a treaty-based international organization, GIGO, managing the program. It has 3 committed nations with aligned industrial bases. And it has a deployment target that, while ambitious, is backed by real engineering milestones. Put yourself in Ottawa's position for a moment. You need long-term fighter capability beyond the F-35. The CF-18 fleet is aging out. The F-35 purchase covers the next 2 decades. But what flies in the 2040s and 2050s? The answer to that question is being shaped right now in engineering labs in Tokyo, Derby, and Turin. And Canada just secured a seat in those rooms. Ottawa scanned the global defense landscape and identified exactly one next-generation fighter program with genuine forward momentum. And it moved. But there's a deeper current flowing beneath this decision that matters enormously for every Canadian watching tonight. A senior official in the Japanese Prime Minister's office said something remarkable about Canada's interest in GCAP. Amid its strained relations with the U.S., it may also be a way of striking a balance. Read that again. Tokyo understands precisely what Ottawa is doing. This isn't just about buying a fighter jet someday. This is about strategic diversification at the most fundamental level, national defense. Dear viewers, consider what's happened over the past 18 months. The Trump administration slapped tariffs on Canadian goods. Washington treated Ottawa not as an ally, but as a competitor. Carney responded by calling for a deliberate, structural move away from dependency on the United States. Trade diversification, energy diversification, diplomatic diversification, and now, defense diversification. Every pillar of the Canada-U.S. relationship that previous governments treated as permanent, as unshakable, Carney is methodically stress-testing and building alternatives for. Not because Canada wants confrontation with Washington, because Ottawa finally recognized that a single point of dependency is a single point of failure. GCAP is the defense chapter of that story, and Tokyo knows it. A Japanese government official directly attributed the surge of international interest in GCAP to what they called a backlash against the Trump administration. Nations aren't just shopping for jets, they're shopping for reliability, for partnerships that don't come with tariff threats attached, for allies who won't weaponize interdependence. Canada, positioning itself inside GCAP, sends a signal that echoes far beyond aviation. It tells Washington that Ottawa has options. It tells Tokyo, London, and Rome that Canada is serious about deepening non-American security partnerships. And it tells every middle power watching, from Canberra to New Delhi to Stockholm, that the post-American defense landscape isn't theoretical anymore. It's being built right now. Let's talk about what comes next, because the road ahead is neither simple nor guaranteed. Japan has a problem. Tokyo wants this jet operational by 2035. Every additional partner adds complexity. Saudi Arabia learned this firsthand. Riyadh initially sought formal GIGO partnership, but Japan pushed back over concerns about development delays and information security. The Saudis eventually pivoted, purchasing F-35s from the United States instead. Their interest in GCAP cooled. That cautionary tale matters for Canada. Tokyo is protective of its timeline. Adding a full development partner requires amending the GIGO Treaty, a process that introduces bureaucratic friction and potential stagnation. Japan's position is clear. Build the initial aircraft with 3 nations, expand later. But that 2035 target is already wobbling. Public-private contracts originally planned for late 2025 have slipped to this summer or beyond, largely due to circumstances in Britain. Some industry insiders now believe actual deployment could drift toward 2040. For Canada, this delay is paradoxically advantageous. Ottawa doesn't need to rush a decision. Observer status gives it time to evaluate the program's technical progress, assess costs, and negotiate favorable terms for eventual procurement or partnership, all while the founding nations sort out their own internal friction. Canada gets to watch from the inside while others wait outside. And there's an industrial dimension that shouldn't be overlooked. Canada's aerospace sector, anchored by firms in Montreal and across Quebec and Ontario, is the seventh largest in the world. Advanced composites, precision avionics, engine components. These aren't aspirational capabilities. They exist today, refined over decades of supplying commercial and military aviation programs globally. A project like GCAP will eventually need exactly this kind of industrial depth to scale production beyond what three nations can sustain alone. If Ottawa plays this correctly, GCAP participation doesn't just mean buying jets. It means building components, securing manufacturing contracts worth billions, creating high-skilled jobs across the country, anchoring next-generation defense technology on Canadian soil for generations. The defense ministers of Japan, Britain, and Italy plan to meet in London as early as July to formally announce Canada's observer status. When that announcement lands, pay attention to the reaction from Washington, because every step Canada takes toward independent defense partnerships is a step away from the assumption that Ottawa will always default to American hardware, American timelines, and American terms. Dear viewers, if you've followed this channel, you know the pattern. Trade diversification with the EU, the UK, the Indo-Pacific. Energy partnerships that bypass American bottlenecks. Diplomatic relationships built on mutual respect rather than dependency. GCAP fits this trajectory perfectly. It's not an isolated procurement decision. It's the next logical move in a grand strategy that Carney has been executing methodically since taking office. Canada didn't get invited to GCAP by accident. It earned that invitation through deliberate diplomacy, strategic agreements, and a willingness to look beyond the comfortable assumptions of the past. The fighter jet of the future might be designed in Tokyo, engineered in London, and assembled in Rome. But if Ottawa plays its cards right, Canadian industry, Canadian sovereignty, and Canadian strategic independence will be woven into every airframe. The world is lining up for this program. Canada got through the door first. And that, dear viewers, is not a coincidence. That's strategy. This is Canada Next. I'll see you tomorrow.